Hello student, I welcome to you all. This is the second chapter of your political science first book. The name of the chapter is End of Bipolarity, and today we are going to discuss this in detail. In the first chapter, you all have seen that the entire world divided into two powers. The first US and second USSR. So, due to this, there was a Cold War which went on for a long time. This Cold War comes to an end in 1991. So, USSR collapsed in 1991 and collapse of Soviet Union is called the end of bipolarity. And here on this slide, you can also see the newspaper clipping, the Berlin Wall tumble. So the Berlin Wall that was divided in the East Germany and West Germany, and as you all know that West Germany was included with the US capitalist bloc and East Germany a member of the socialist bloc. So the tumbling is the Berlin Wall was seen as the first sign of the end of the bipolarity. The fall of Berlin Wall is also known as early symbol of the end of bipolarity. Let's get start. First we have to know that the Soviet of Union Socialist Republic USSR came into being after the Socialist Revolution in Russia in 1917. The revolution was inspired by the idea of socialism as opposed to capitalism. If you want to know in detail about the socialist revolution and philosophy of the revolution in which it done, you can refer to class 9th history book. It is given in detail. You all have read it. The idea of the socialism which stress on egalitarian society. Egalitarian society means in which equality is stressed a lot. So during the First World War, this revolution occurred in Russia and converted Russia into Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. The state was organized on the basis of socialism and stress on in egalitarian society. Now the next topic is the basic features of Soviet state. The center around the communal party and the center party was the CPU, Communal Party of Soviet Union. No other party was allowed it. Actually, this was the common feature. Then economy was totally centralized. It was planned and controlled by the state. No private enterprises allowed it as it happened in the case of in the capitalism. Next, third one, the economy of Soviet Union was more developed than rest of the world except US. Fourth, the state ensured the minimum standard of living of its citizens. Actually, in socialist, all responsibilities of a citizen is taken by the state. So the state ensures that everybody gets the basic necessities. For example, healthcare, childcare, and other welfare schemes. These were subsidized by the government. This is the very major feature of the Soviet system. No unemployment and state ownership was dominant from the ownership. Means no private ownership is allowed. Now we come to know causes of disintegration. If the Soviet state was so advanced, it was so well managed, then why did it disintegrated in 1991? So first we see the political cause of disintegration. First, political system had become very slow and not responsive. Second, economy had become stagnant. There occurred severe shortage of consumer goods, and then it was added the burden of maintaining satellite states and Central Asian Republic. Fifth is the administration system turned into corruption, which made the life of common people miserable. Next, the economic reforms introduced by Gorbachev was not successful because it failed to get support of the Communist Party. Last one of the most important reasons was rise of nationalism in various organs of the USSR finally resulted in her disintegration. The citizens became aware from century of years they must told that they were the very much ahead of the West. But when they got to know that US is far more advanced, so this come to as a psychological as well as economical shock for them. Then one of the most cause became the reform introduced by Gorbachev. Now question is, who was the Gorbachev? Mikhail Gorbachev, who had become General Secretary of Communist Party of the Soviet Union in 1985. And then he introduced two types of reform. One of the glasnost means transparency and perestroika means restructuring. So while carries out of these reforms, Gorbachev thought that things will reforms and the things did not improve. How it happens seems those who wanted to reforms for them, they thought reforms were too less, where as the member of the CPU, they felt that Gorbachev is moving beyond the principle of socialism. And because of their reforms, their powers would be reduced. So there were two sets of people. One wanted reforms and other who did not want reform. So those who wanted reform, it was very less, and those who did not want reform, they thought it was too much. So in this conflict, Gorbachev lost support from both the sides. So it's said because of these factors, the disintegration which would had happened 10 years later happened immediately because reforms of Gorbachev, it would be one factor in the disintegration of Soviet Union. Next, in the consequences of disintegration, which would be dealing in the next video. Thank you.